I've always believed that the fastest way to double your money is to fold it in half and put it back in your pocket. As a senior wealth manager at a boutique investment firm, my entire life was a calculated gamble. I was a master of high risk, high reward options trading. My husband, Thomas, was a software developer for an open source database company. He was incredibly plain, wore faded band t shirts, and spent his evenings writing code for fun. While I was out dining with corporate clients and moving millions across the market, Thomas was staring at lines of text in a dark room. I viewed him less like a partner and more like a dependable piece of office furniture. Naturally, I looked for excitement elsewhere. I found it in Julian. Julian was a high-flying crypto day trader who lived in a glass penthouse downtown. He was aggressive, reckless, and lived on pure adrenaline. Our connection was instant, but our lifestyle was expensive. To fund our high-end trips to Monaco and Ibiza, I needed capital that wouldn't alert my firm's strict compliance officers. That's when I noticed a massive vulnerability in Thomas's personal project. He had built a highly sophisticated automated AI trading bot that managed our joint retirement portfolio. It was designed to skim micro-profits from market fluctuations, executing thousands of trades a minute. It was flawless. I realized that if I subtly altered the bot's risk tolerance algorithms, I could siphon off small, unnoticeable amounts of capital, around $3,000 to $4,000 a week, into a private offshore account I shared with Julian. Because the bot was completely automated, Thomas never checked the individual logs. He just looked at the net positive line on his spreadsheet at the end of the month. For 18 months, I used my husband's own genius to fund a luxurious double life with my lover. I felt like an absolute ghost in the machine. My fatal mistake was assuming that the machine couldn't learn. The trap snapped shut on a Thursday afternoon. I was at Julian's penthouse, celebrating a massive market win. We had just booked a first-class trip to Santorini using the siphon funds. I was sitting on the kitchen island, drinking expensive champagne, when my phone buzzed with an alert from our joint investment app. The screen flashed a red notification. Portfolio liquidation initiated. Total assets to be converted to liquid fiat. I choked on my wine. If Thomas liquidated the account, the compliance officers at my firm would immediately flag the transaction, triggering a massive forensic audit of my entire financial history. Panic coursing through my veins, I grabbed my laptop, frantically trying to log into the trading bot's server to cancel the order. Access denied. Primary IP blacklisted. Julian, something's wrong with the server. I gasped, my hands shaking on the keyboard. I'm locked out. My husband is draining the retirement account. Suddenly, the massive 75-inch smart TV on Julian's living room wall flickered to life. It didn't open a streaming app. It opened a secure video conferencing link. Sitting in front of a dual-monitor setup in our quiet suburban home was Thomas. He wasn't wearing a faded t-shirt. He was wearing a sharp custom suit, and he looked incredibly relaxed. Hello, Erica. Hello, Julian, Thomas said. His voice was perfectly calm, echoing through the penthouse speakers. Julian scrambled up from the couch, his face turning pale. Who the hell is this? How is he on my TV? I built the network architecture for this building's smart systems, Julian, Thomas explained smoothly, taking a slow sip from a coffee mug. It's amazing what backdoors you can find when you look at the source code. But we aren't here to talk about your television. We're here to talk about my trading bot. I stepped in front of the camera, trying to force my voice into a tone of righteous anger. Thomas, what are you doing? Stop the liquidation right now. You're going to ruin my compliance standing at the firm. Oh, I'm not ruining it, Erica. You already did that, Thomas replied, leaning back in his chair. You see, you thought you were incredibly clever when you altered my bot's risk tolerance parameters 18 months ago. But you forgot one basic rule of machine learning. The AI is designed to look for malicious code and anomalies. Thomas tapped his keyboard, and a massive spreadsheet filled the TV screen, replacing his face. It was a perfectly formatted timeline of every single offshore transfer I had made, complete with IP addresses, timestamps, and the exact coordinates of Julian's penthouse. The moment you touched the algorithm, the bot flagged your user profile as a security threat, Thomas said, his face reappearing in a picture-in-picture window. But I didn't stop it. I modified the AI to let you keep siphoning the money. Why? Because under our state's family law, if a spouse uses marital assets to fund an extramarital affair, that capital is classified as wasteful dissipation. It has to be paid back in full during a divorce, with interest. My heart dropped directly into my stomach. The room felt completely ice cold. Thomas, please. For 18 months, my bot has been acting as a digital bounty hunter, Thomas continued, his voice completely clinical. It didn't just log the transfers. It used the offshore account metadata to track Julian's crypto wallets. 2 hours ago, I submitted the complete 400-page forensic data log to your firm's internal compliance committee and the SEC. Julian let out a panicked shout, frantically pulling out his phone. My wallets, my trading accounts, they're completely frozen. Of course they are, Julian, Thomas said with a mild smile. When the SEC receives a verified report of a corporate officer using automated bots to launder siphoned funds into unregistered crypto assets, they freeze everything first and ask questions later. You're both entirely locked out. Thomas stood up from his desk and picked up a manila envelope. The divorce papers were served to your HR department 30 minutes ago, Erica. Your corporate email has already been deactivated, and I believe security is currently clearing out your desk. He looked directly into the camera lens, his eyes completely devoid of the warmth I had spent years taking for granted. You always told me that I was boring because I only looked at data points in a dark room, Thomas said quietly. But you forgot that in the modern world, the data points control the money. Have a wonderful trip to Santorini, if you can afford the ticket. The screen snapped to black. Julian's phone began vibrating violently with alerts from his brokers, but he couldn't even swipe the screen because his biometrics had been deauthorized. He looked at me, his eyes full of pure rage, realizing that his meal ticket hadn't just expired. It had dragged his entire financial empire down with it. I stood in the center of the luxury penthouse, looking at my reflection in the dark TV screen, realizing that in a world governed by automated logic, I was the only asset that was completely worthless.